Brendan Dawes, welcome again to the University of Huddersfield. I believe you've been here before, but many years ago.
A few years ago, everything's changed now. It's the buildings are all different. So it's nice to be back. The beautiful journey across the Pennines in the sunshine. So yeah, it's good.
And did you enjoy yourself today?
Yeah, absolutely. The students were really infused and lots of questions at the end, which is always good. So yeah, it's nice to see.
Tell me, what would you describe yourself as? A designer, an artist, or a coder?
I think I always just go with designer because it seems to cover a lot of things. I think increasingly though it's quite difficult to explain what people like me do, because 1 minute it's graphic design, next minute I'm programming, all the way to doing things on a server to create graphical output maybe, or so it's increasingly hard to actually describe, I think, our job roles. And I guess it's the changing nature of design in the 21st century, really. How do you describe that? And I don't really get too hung up about titles as such. It's good to, people need it when they meet you because they say, what do you do? So it can be a little bit difficult. I once described what I did as I make fillings for rectangles. So, yeah, that just confuses people even more. So,
and you are okay. You're a designer, designing lots of things. But where do you start with an idea? I came across a quote that you were like, you have to be looking for something in order to find something else.
Yeah.
So are you given a commission, or do you just sit there every day and pore over?
Yeah, a lot of the time it's a commission for a specific thing, or they want me to explore a specific area and see what outputs come out of that. If I'm doing stuff for myself, it will be, based on an idea or a concept, or something that I'm curious about. It may be born out of a new technology. Suddenly you can connect things to Wi-Fi easily. What can we do with that? What can you do with 3D printing? So even though that's been around since '85, the context is different when you've suddenly got one on your desk and you can do things quickly with it, fairly quickly. So with the 3D printing, for example, I don't want to make things that, a lot of people are 3D printing off websites and stuff. I have no interest in that, but as a tool for me to then create something with code maybe, and then create a physical object from it to represent maybe data, then that becomes interesting to me. Suddenly you've got, okay, now we're physicalizing data, and then you take that to a personal level. What would that mean for someone if they could print their, for instance, Fitbit data and have it on a table? So those things are all born out of a combination of new technologies, context, and just being, I guess, questioning these things and being curious.
And where's the starting point? Sitting in a dark room?
No, the starting point for me is I think.
And where does it go to? You've got to get that initial idea, haven't you?
Yeah, you have. I think the worst thing you can do is sit in front of a screen and kind of like go, right, think of an idea, and it just doesn't happen like that. And there's the cliches of, when you're in the shower and stuff like that. To my mind, why aren't there loads of showers in creative agencies then? But I think what happens is when you're doing an automated task that your brain switches into this mode to be a lot freer. So for me, a lot of the time it's, you do maybe having a shave and your brain does this thing where it suddenly starts thinking about stuff because you're not thinking about the task in hand, because that's kind of muscle memory. And that's how it seems to work with me. Or, going for a walk. A lot of the time, and a lot of people say this, you can be having, a certain problem that you just can't fix, whether it's programming or a composition problem, whatever. And the best thing to do is walk away. And you go out, and oftentimes I can be driving, or I just go, oh my, yeah, that's why it doesn't work, because you were thinking about it too much, and you're kind of blind to, and the answer was maybe really obvious. So it's good to, I find, getting away from the computer and the screen is when I kind of do my best work, really. And
that would be your advice to
yeah,
young designers,
absolutely.
students?
I mean,
If they get stuck,
yeah,
walk
absolutely,
away.
walk away. The other thing I do, and this is maybe a little bit weird, is if I'm working on something and I think, oh, is this any good? I'll leave it on screen, and then I'll go and make a cup of tea or coffee, and I'll come back in the room with it still on the screen, as if I've just met it, and go, oh yeah, looks all right, that. It's kind of like reacquainting yourself with the work. It's just kind of one of the things I do. Or leave it for a few days and then come back to it and go, yeah, it's still okay, this, or no, that isn't really working. So yeah, walk away.
And do you get ideas for other things while you're getting ideas for the thing you're meant to be getting ideas for?
Absolutely. And you see other people's work, or you're inspired by other people's work, but out of your own work, things iterate from that and go different ways, than you were thinking. And the end result is maybe very different to what you thought of, but it's also maybe better as well. And also collaborating with people as well can be good. You can maybe think of something it was kind of, that's just right, and then they flag something up and you go, oh yeah, didn't think of that. And
yes, because surely there's no such thing as an original idea.
No, there isn't. Everything's been pretty much done before. There's just reinterpretations of it. I think Eric Speakerman, the typographer, designer, he said his technique is to, when he sees other people's work, he'll remember it, but then it'll all go a bit fuzzy with time. So when he does something inspired by it, there's elements of that original idea there, but then there's also parts of him. And so it is different. And I think that's all you can do, is try and put your own personality on a project. Otherwise it is just, verbatim copying, and that's not great. So everyone is influenced by other ideas. You've then got to work out, right, how can you twist that to make something new with it. And I think all my work is basically just cutting things up and putting them together in different ways to see what comes out of that.
Hard question. What are you most proud of in your work? What was the thing that you designed, invented?
I think there's a couple of things. There's one that
you're real proud of.
Yeah, there's one that is not digital. It's a piece of industrial design. It was a stand for an iPhone. It was called Movie Peg. It was the first industrial design thing I'd ever made, and it's plastic with a slot cut in it. Very simple idea, and we sold that all over the world for a long time, and I was really proud of that. It was cheap, it was easy to make, it was infinitely copyable. That was part of the problem with it. But I was really proud of that because it was just such a simple thing, and it actually didn't exist. So it's all these things that you can sometimes find a little. There was iPhone stands before, but there was nothing as simple as this. So I'm really proud of that one, and yet it's not digital and it's incredibly simple. And then I guess the thing that I've got the most notoriety from, or people know me for, I guess, is the Cinema Redux project that ended up in MoMA in New York, and I think it was kind of a catalyst for me. I had no relationship with MoMA at all. I'd got no art qualifications, and so to get that email from them, in 2007, just out the blue, is something that I always remember. And then that piece is still in exhibitions now. Several years on, 7 years on, it's still touring. So
is art your hobby and design your job?
I have a relationship. I have my agent in Manchester who has an art gallery. He insists that I am an artist, and I've got to tell clients I'm an artist. But I think it's kind of a loaded thing, and so I prefer the word designer. I mean, the way I look at it is, art to me is about asking questions, where design is about answers. And that's the relationship between the two, really. And so, but I don't really try and differentiate. I just do what I do, and if people want to call some things art, then that's fine. If they want to, but I try not to label it too much. That is the piece I've just done for Twitter. To me, it's design, but they're calling it. they view it as an artwork, even though it's digital and moving, you know. And art is a funny one. I just come back from the Louvre and, you know, went to the Mona Lisa. That's where everyone heads, and of course there's a big crowd around it. And it got me thinking, you know, where is the crowd around digital things? Is anyone going to be crowding around anything digital in 500 years' time? Seriously doubt it. But then again, no one's crowding around cinema, and, you know, they watch it and in that moment, and then they go home, you know. So different mediums have different ways of viewing things. But it begs the question, where are the great pieces of digital art? And maybe some do exist, but I think we're still at such an early stage that who knows what we'll be seeing in 500 years. And anyway, it'll just be beamed to our eyeballs via Google, probably.
And finally, are you allowed to tell us what you're working on now?
Well, weirdly, I'm about to start a big project for Google, and unfortunately, I can't say what that is, but it's exciting. I'm doing a gallery installation for Facts in Liverpool. That's working with a great props designer and building a console of controls that control a 3D model that you create in a piece of software that I've made. And so that I'm loving working on that. And there's a couple of other things, and I've got an exhibition in Munich at the end of February that I'm still making stuff for. And that's in 2 weeks, so
no pressure there.
No, yeah, I've got to crack on with that. Yeah, so there's you know, and that's what's great, is you just don't know what's around the corner, really, and I think that's why it's an amazing time to be working in this field. Is you just don't know what email's going to drop and what job you're going to get, and a lot of the time, you know, you don't know how to do a lot of the work that you're being asked to do. And I'm more interested in that. I'm more interested in doing things that I don't know how to do, rather than doing things that I know how to do. I want to learn new stuff, and a lot of the work I've been doing lately is stuff I've never done, and you still manage to do it, you know. So, yeah, kind of, you know, that's kind of my New Year's resolution, is to carry on doing things I don't know how to do.
Brendan, great to see you here today, and hopefully we'll see you here again.
Thank you very much. Pleasure being here. Thanks.
The University of Huddersfield, inspiring tomorrow's professionals.